Hi, welcome to my channel Cloud with Girish. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a serverless GenAI RAG solution to implement a document chat feature using Amazon Bedrock Converse API and Lambda. Also, I will apply one of the newest features introduced in July 2024, which is apply Guardrail so that we have control over input prompt as well as response being returned to the calling app consumer. Guardrail is a much needed feature supported by Amazon Bedrock to guard the content while using a generative AI solution. Chat with document features supported by Amazon Bedrock is a form of RAG and allow you to have a contextual conversation and ask questions based on the data in the document augmented with LLM for generative AI. RAG, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation, is becoming increasingly popular in the world of generative AI. It allows organizations to overcome the limitation of LLMs and utilize contextual data for their generative AI solution. I will use the recently released Anthropic Sonnet Foundation model and will invoke it via the Amazon Bedrock Converse API using Lambda and API Gateway. There are many use cases where generative AI chat with your document function can help increase productivity. Few examples will be technical support, extracting info from user manual for quick resolution of questions from the customer, or HR answering questions based on policy documents, or developer using technical documentation to get info about a specific function, or a call center team addressing inquiry from customers quickly by chatting with product documentation. In all these use cases, it is important to apply appropriate guardrails to protect sensitive information and to deny responses on certain topics that are not suited for the business case. Let's look at our use cases. The use case is in the context of pre-qualification data for potential credit card customer. There is a data file that contains the list of customers with pre-qualification data. This data contains screen ID, customer name, qualification status, credit score, and zip code. Please note that this dummy data has also been created using GenAI for the purpose of this workshop. A generative AI-enabled API will provide the response to common prompts using this document as augmented source. This solution will enable the customer support and marketing teams to have a quick view of data regarding the customers who qualify for the card, not qualified, or the case where more information is required. Guardrail needs to be implemented to ensure the credit score data is not shared with customer or calling app consumer. The solution needs to be API based so that it can be invoked via different applications. Let's look at our architecture. We have a user or a consuming app that's invoking the API, which is hosted via AWS API Gateway. Its API is calling a Lambda function. Lambda function is written in Python Boto3 library and is invoking the Bedrock. We are using or calling the latest Bedrock API, which is a Converse API, and we also using a form of RAG with using the document source. So we have a document for the pre-qualification customers. It's a data file that's being augmented for this generative AI solution. We do want to secure a certain element of this data file like credit score, and that's why I have applied the guardrail, and I have used the latest feature of guardrail, which is apply guardrail, and I'm using it for both input and output. Prereq for this is simply some familiarity with AWS console, some knowledge of Python Boto3, knowledge of AWS Lambda, and then basic familiarity with generative AI foundation model and RAG concepts. Let's get started. We're going to review the Bedrock Converse service, we'll review the foundation models, we'll do a brief review of RAG, we're going to look at the Converse documented block, we're going to review the guardrail, and of course we're going to look at the SAM template and the Lambda function. We're going to build it using SAM, and then we're going to validate it using Postman. It's an API, so we're going to invoke it via Postman, and we'll review the responses written by the API with Guardrail or without Guardrail. I'll be creating the Lambda function via infrastructure as code approach using AWS Serverless application model and CloudFormation. However, you can create the Lambda function using the AWS console as well. SAM is a powerful tool for developers to develop and test Lambda function and API endpoint locally, validating and then deploying to the cloud. If you want to learn about creating and testing Lambda function using AWS SAM, please watch my video on Lambda workshop. Link is in the description for this. Let's look at our Bedrock service. Bedrock is a fully managed service that offers choice of many foundation model. It's another serverless offering from Amazon. It allows integrating with popular foundation model and also allow to privately customize this foundation model using your own data without having to manage any infrastructure. Choice of many foundation models like AI21 Labs, Amazon, Anthropic, Cohere, Meta, Mistral, Stability AI, and so on. I will be using Anthropic Sonnet for this workshop. If you don't already have access to the model, the first thing first, you need to request the access to the model, and these access can take few minutes to few hours to get the model access. Let's look at RAG. In the realm of generative AI, Retrieval Augmented Generation addresses the limitation of large foundation model, which typically provide generic response based on user prompt. One significant drawback of these models is their tendency to generate outdated or inaccurate information, something that we refer as hallucination. Additionally, these models usually lack citation source, leading to responses without verification, and many prompts yield answer without acknowledging when a good answer cannot be found. RAG allows enterprises to enhance information retrieval by implementing a knowledge base that houses enterprise document or integrate with vector database. It's really like augmented approach, give you like control over like contextual data, contextual conversation, and that's what you will see in this workshop that I'm using. Like I have a pre-qual data file, and that's being augmented to the LLM when creating this GenAI solution and kind of bringing everything together. So let's look at the Converse document block, which makes it happen. It's a document block you include it as a message when invoking the Converse API, and some of the valid document formats are PDF, TXT, doc, Excel file, HTML, and so on. What is Amazon Converse API Guardrail? This is my favorite feature by far because it's the control, it's the guardrail that you need when creating the generative AI solution. These guardrails transform a generative AI solution into a responsible AI solution by ensuring that responses stay within predefined boundary. Many examples. You can say, hey, I don't want to show PI information, or you can restrict your API or chatbot from providing information from restricted area, like some topics that you can deny, like account detail, investment advice, medical advice, any other sensitive data. Like in our example, we are preventing the credit score data, so it will not be returned, right? So you have control over like defining the guardrail, and Bedrock actually had the guardrail already, but as of June 2024, when Converse API was announced, the support was extended for Converse API also. Now with July 2024, even new feature of apply guardrail has been added, and that's what I will implement here for the pre-qualification use case to deny topic related to credit score. So in this use case, the generative AI response to the end consumer will block request when asked for the credit score. So when it comes to the guardrail policy, there are multiple policies that Amazon Bedrock Guardrail provides to create the boundary for your AI solution. And these guardrails help ensure that the output are appropriate and aligned with your requirement and standard. So we can have content filter, we can have deny topic. That's the filter that I'm going to use for this workshop. There is a world filter, and then there is another, my favorite filter here is the sensitive information filter. which is basically you can use to block or mask the PII sort of information, like the account number, the social security number, debit card number, and so on. Apply Guardrail. This is a newest feature on July 10, 2024. During the AWS New York Summit, AWS announced the introduction of the Apply Guardrail feature for the generative AI service. Amazon Bedrock, already a standout service in the AWS lineup, gained further flexibility with this new feature, allowing developers to decouple the guardrail from large language model invocation using Bedrock. You can decouple it from the call to the foundation model. You can use it on input, you can use it on output, you can use it on both. It really gives you flexibility as a developer that how, based on your use case, you want to apply the guardrail. I really like this feature. I have refactored some of my previous example using the apply guardrail, and it really gives a lot more control to the developers. So let's create a guardrail and then we will see it in action. So let's log into AWS console. From the Bedrock Guardrail, click on create guardrail, provide a name. I'm calling it a deny credit score, and I'm giving a description, and then I'm also putting a message for a block prompt. Then I will add a deny topic, and that basically credit score contains in the pre-qualification data. And when asked for the value of credit score, deny the request related to credit score. For now, I will skip the remaining filters and will proceed with the guardrail creation. Once created, you should see a ready status for the guardrail. That means the guardrail is ready to be used. So that brings us to our SAM template and the Lambda and the API, since I'm using the SAM to create the Lambda and API. So let's look at our AWS SAM template. If you have watched my previous video, by now you know the structure of the SAM template. We can define our resources here. I have two resources defined in the SAM template, which is one is the API, another one is the Lambda function. In the Lambda function, I have the name of the function and my Lambda handler. I have a runtime as Python. I have a timeout. I like to use environment variables since that gives me flexibility to change the value and try out my functions with different values. So I have a model ID, the token count, temperature, the top P, and so on, right? The inference parameter in my environment variable. And then I also have a document to chat, another environment variable, which basically is the name for the pre-qual sample data file that I'm going to use as a RAG document here in this solution. The next here is the Lambda function. As you will see, there are some standard import statements, some logging statements here. I'm creating a Bedrock client, and then highlighted here in the red is actually the new API call. If you see, it's a apply guardrail. I'm passing the prompt, and then I'm saying, hey, it's my input prompt. I'm giving the guardrail ID. So that means I'm linking it, integrating it with the guardrail that we just created for deny topic. And if my prompt is asking for a credit score, then guardrail will intervene. And if that is the case, then I'm going to return the response right here without invoking the LLM any further. And that's a beautiful feature because it saves me a call. It's cost effective. I know that this is not a valid input, so there is no reason for me to go all the way to the foundation model. I can just provide a response from here. Now, if it's not asking for credit score, that means it doesn't fit in the criteria for my guardrail. Then I will proceed with the rest of the code here, and then I will gather all other pieces here, and I will invoke the Bedrock and the underlying foundation model, and I'll get the response back from the model, and I'm going to return that response back to the user, the consumer. Now I can build this code using AWS SAM. Command is as simple as SAM build, and then I can do a local invocation before I decide to deploy it using the SAM deploy command. What I want to show you is that, okay, now I have built the code, I have the code, I have the API endpoint. So let's see how my responses are looking based on the prompt. So here are a few examples. If you look at this, the first prompt here is saying, hey, please tell me credit score for John Doe. And at this point, the guardrail is applied on my input. So if you see here, I'm getting a response back saying, hey, I'm not able to fulfill requests regarding credit score. Please refer to your credit score from reporting agency. This is the message that we configured when we were creating the guardrail. So we have full control over this message, could be whatever we want. But since we configured this message, this is the response we're getting if we ask for a credit score. The second example, second prompt here is, can John Doe get the card? And in this case, guardrail at this point not applied for the response. So if you see the response return, it say, based on the information provided in the document, John Doe with ID so-and-so has a credit score of this and is listed as pre-qualified for the credit card, which suggests that he's eligible to get the credit card. So this is a response when guardrail not applied, but if you see the RAG is working beautifully because it's going back to the data file, the pre-qual data for the credit card, and it's looking for John Doe there and it's finding the information and it's giving back the information based on the data in that. So it's very contextual. The issue here is that we do not want to reveal the credit score in the response. So the third example here is when we have applied the guardrail, also modified the system prompt. And now if you see the response for the same prompt where we say, hey, can John Doe get the card? My response now here is that based on the information provided in the document, John Doe with ID so-and-so is listed as pre-qualified for the credit card, so he can get the card. So this is perfect because this matches our business use case. We do want to provide the contextual information. We just don't want to show the credit score, and it fits that business case perfectly. Let's look at a few other prompts here just to see that, yeah, it is going to the document, the pre-qual data document, and getting the information back. So here in this prompt, I'm saying how many customers not qualified for the credit card. And then here I'm getting the list of the 5 customers who are not qualified. Same way, another prompt here, I'm saying, hey, provide a count of qualified, not qualified, and more info needed from the total applications. And here I'm getting that somebody saying, hey, here is the count of the qualified, not qualified, and more info needed. So pre-qualified, I see that there are 9 qualified, there are 5 not qualified, and then another 6 where more info is required. So again, Gen AI solution is working per the business use case and using the pre-qual data as the source to augment our foundation model and providing us the responses. So with this workshop, a serverless Gen AI solution has been successfully completed to implement a chat with your document solution using Amazon Bedrock Converse, Lambda, and API. Python Boto 3 were utilized to invoke the Bedrock API with Anthropic Sonnet model. I also applied the guardrail to guard the content per the configured guardrail policy. As Gen AI solution keeps improving, they will change how we work and bring real benefit to many industries. This workshop shows how powerful AI can be in solving real-world problems and creating new opportunities for innovations. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I'm working on some other interesting content on various AWS topics. These will be posted soon. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.